So welcome everyone. I'm Nathalie, and this is Patrick and Anya. We are going to talk about Shikai's Reiki precepts and a little bit of energy and technique in martial arts. And I've been practicing Iai only for 5 years, but I have a very long practice in traditional Japanese Reiki. And I'll let Patrick and Anya introduce themselves.
Well, let's keep it short as well. Well, I'm originally Russian, living in Holland now and practicing Aikido and Reiki for, Reiki for over 20 years and Aikido like 14 years. It all takes a little while, a little longer in Aikido. We're not going as quick, but it's been a real journey, a real adventure. I really love it.
And thank you guys for inviting me to this talk. I've been doing Iaido since 2004, so almost 17 years. And I've studied some kyudo and I recently started kendo. So there's a lot of different perspectives I like to bring into it. And yeah, after several talks with Nathalie on Reiki, on ki, on breathing, I just thought it'd be an interesting conversation to have. So thank you for having me.
Perfect. And again, the interest of the group Shin Shin Kaisen is really about bringing mind and body together. So that will be in martial arts, but also how it applies to life. So that's what we love so much, that subject. And I would love to just start like, what are Shikais? Because for me, that term was very new. It felt very related to the Reiki precepts, but if you can explain, Patrick, what the Shikais are, that would be awesome.
Okay, sure. I don't think I have permission to share yet, so I'll just speak.
We'll just do it now.
That's me.
Yeah.
Mikao.
Okay, so while you're doing that, I could just overall, the Shikai is 4 terms that were oftenly discussed in kendo, but like we talk about it in Iaido as well. And I think it applies to a lot of places in life. And it's things that you want to avoid in your Budo, which you can bring into a lot of other situations. So the Shikai, or the 4 prohibitions, are surprise, fear, doubt, and confusion. I found some definitions here on the bottom that kind of encapsulate these 4 terms. I just looked at like Oxford dictionary or something like that. So surprise, the feeling caused by something unexpected or unusual. Fear is the feeling caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. Doubt is the feeling of uncertainty that interferes with decision-making. And confusion is the feeling of disorientation with regards to one's senses. So all of these are applied in, for example, a kendo match when you're facing another opponent. If you are afflicted by any of these concepts, then most likely you will lose a match. So this is the mental, spiritual side of things. And even if your technique is superb, even though you have full control of your body, it doesn't mean you will win all the time. So this is a very important aspect to be aware of.
And I love that. In Reiki, we have something very similar. It's simpler. It's just because also it doesn't have that spatial movement part of it about like, it's more about do not worry, do not anger, and then be grateful. But again, worry and anger, it has to do with the same thing, right? It affects how you react. It affects your energy. And I think the same with surprise and confusion, if your energy is all over the place. So for me, it was so interesting because at the end, all these traditions have the same core. You need to be centered on the self, right? And what I was reading a lot is, for example, Iai, Kendo, even Reiki and Karate have all these Shikai and these kind of commonalities about not being confused or scared. Yet when I was talking to Anya in Aikido, they don't have this concept of Shikai, and that was very interesting. So Anya, if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, at least I have never came across a concept of Shikai or for illnesses or sicknesses, but there is a very well-spoken concept of gratitudes and virtues. And these are like antidotes. Like in Reiki, we also speak about, okay, we have anger and distraction, confusion. And what are the antidotes to it? Are gratitude and compassion. And what are gratitude and compassion are just a peace of mind. Where does it come from? From not being distracted. And so you can see gratitude as a stepping stone to the peace of mind, to where it all, to to the source of the healing of all the confusion and fear and insecurity and so forth and so forth. So in Aikido, we talk about 4 gratitudes: gratitude to the universe, to all the ancestors, to fellow human beings, and to animals. And we talk about 4 virtues: virtue of fearlessness, courage; virtue of love, wisdom; and virtue of love, virtue of wisdom, and virtue of empathy. Which is, when I read this, when I see this, it brings us same as back to compassion and wisdom, which we see back again in Zen, in Buddhism, and so forth, so forth. So it's all about conquering. And we in Aikido, again, a very important phrase is Masagatsu Agatsu. And this is the true victory, is a victory over yourself right here, right now. So you bring it to the victory, about a victory over yourself, over your fears, confusion, etc. And then it will open up to peace of mind, wisdom, compassion.
Yeah, I love that overarching concept of gratitude that you have, because when we talk about the Shikai too in Kendo, you have an opponent, and how you react, how you feel in that moment could impact your ability to have a good practice, even not necessarily just win a match. And there's this concept that, especially when I'm talking to older Kendoka, the ones that are more senior, they speak of this match as rather than a fight, but more of a communication between 2 players. And when you think about that, you come in, you bow, you say, thank you for having this chance to build myself and to build each other. And then at the end, you bow again to have that feeling of gratitude. And when you come into something like that, you no longer see someone as an opponent. So you no longer have that fear for someone or doubt whether or not you will succeed or not. You're just looking at this as a chance to grow together. So I love that this just one overarching concept can counter these 4 prohibitions at once.
Absolutely.
And I love, because for me, when you're talking, and I think probably more from the point of view of Reiki as well, then it means really kokoro. We're talking about gratitude, but also link heart and mind. And for me, one thing that comes from all of it is confusion, surprise happens when we have expectations of what should be, right? So we think the match is going to do this, the opponent is going to do that, or in life, this is going to go this way. So we become very close-minded. The mind is very tiny and tunnel, and almost like not very flexible. So with gratitude, compassion, and wisdom, for me, it's opening your heart and mind and being very present in the moment. And then, there is no confusion or surprise, because if you're not expecting anything, then you cannot really be surprised. You're fully present. So, and I think gratitude, as you said, is the way to really work on opening that heart mind, so you can be very present versus always in your head, right?
Which brings me to the Aikido concept. Usually in a classical Aikido, a training would be opened with a shiho giri or shio nage. The shiho is 4 and nage is a throw, and a giri is the direction. So it's if it's with a sword, then it's 4 directions of the sword. The shio nage, it's also a movement in the 4 directions, which broadens your mind, which opens up. You should be able to move every direction, not strict, not limited, but open, ready to accept and not anticipate, like you say, Nathalie. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
So because I know in Reiki, basically we try to counter this anger and worry through practice and building a very strong hara, right? So Patrick, I wonder, because this comes a little bit from Kendo, what practice leads you to be able to I hate getting rid, but let go of the Shikai, like be able to hold the space for those Shikai and not be distracted by them.
I can also use Iaido as a more example, because I practice that a lot more. Iaido, in some sense, I feel like the Shikai come even more strongly to the individual, because you don't have an opponent. You're not focused on just another person. When you're performing in like an embu, a demonstration, or in a tournament, everyone else is watching you. Like you're just the only person out there. So how do you walk into this space and try to meet these expectations? Oh, this person's going to do something great, or this person is going to not screw up something. and all the pressure is on you. And this is very similar in real life when you're up on stage trying to present to an audience. So there's different ways that I've had to manage over time to be able to step in front. My sensei in Toronto, he would often call different people to come and demonstrate, like in the class. So we all be practicing together. Suddenly he like point to someone and is like, you're coming in the center for demonstrate this technique. And then most of the time it's to correct you in some way. So you're already expecting to do something wrong, to no matter what you're going to do out there, something bad is going to be said about you. So the best way I had was to just switch it around. First, my mindset, I would switch it to that I'm out here to learn. I'm out here, like whatever he gives me is an opportunity for me to find out something about myself. So that calms my mind. That changes it from that kind of fear to, oh, I'm looking forward to learning something. From a body sensation, it's really important to feel the floor. So I forget about the sword, I forget about my arms and upper body, and I just have my toes feel what the floor is like, feel heavy and sink into the ground. And that lowers like your center of gravity, that brings your breath down from the chest into your hara area and makes you feel a lot more calm that way. So those are kind of some things that I use to deal with these prohibitions or illnesses.
I love how practical that is.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
simple.
funny, it's simple and easy to adapt. For me, it's funny because I feel like when I'm scared, I tighten up, and then the energy doesn't flow, and then I get messy because I don't feel my body. So I try to, again, gratitude, as Anya said, like go gratitude and a feeling of connection, remembering the senseis, they don't want to fail me, they actually are my peers, right? So I try to soften, and when I soften, the energy flows again, and then I can perform. And yeah, and I do belly breathing, like something called Joshinko Kyoho, which is really hara breathing, to not fall on my sword, which is my big fear. Anya, how did you deal with this?
In Aikido, I'm thinking, okay, you guys, indeed, you have a sword and yourself, and we always deal with an opponent. An opponent could be challenging sometimes. I am like a tiny girl, and you come across big people on the mat, big males on the mat. And then you think, okay, how am I going to do that? And the more you focus on somebody else, the less smooth it goes. So I have learned to switch all of the back, to switch the attention back onto me. And like Patrick, like you say, we also have in Aikido, it's a very standard procedure to lower yourself, to lower your hara, to lower your shoulders, which means also to go down, to bring the center of gravity down here. And this is lower your senses. And when you just turn into yourself, you turn inwards, you lower yourself, and you just keep your axis. The only thing what you have to think about is your axis and your movement, how you play, where you place yourself. It's like being in the right place in the right time, also a lot in Aikido, which is kokyu. We're talking about kokyu a lot also in Reiki. Kokyu-ho is a method of breathing to calm yourself down. And kokyu, I read in one of the books, can also be translated as being in the right place in the right time, syncing your breath, like the founder of Aikido said, syncing your breath to the breath of the universe, being in flow, finding yourself in the flow. Where you are, the axis of the universe is. This is how I try to do that. It's not always working, but this is the idea.
No, and I think both of you said something very interesting. It's shifting your practice from acing it, being the best EI or Aikido, to one of self-exploration, right? So really going from one of ego-driven to one of like, okay, letting go and surrendering. So I would love a little bit of your journey on that and other tips for people to really understand that these martial art practices are about self-exploration, not just go with the sword and ace everybody. Patrick, I don't know if you want to add that. There was a sentence I love. It's like, go like the kata beyond the kata. And for me, this has to do with that.
Mm-hmm. So when I think about my own practice and how I've evolved it over time, you start realizing that a lot of your big gains happen at the lowest time. So it's like, I forgot, there was this thing that I read recently about the amateur is the one that when they face a plateau, when they feel an obstacle in their way, they just give up and leave. The professional welcomes it like an old friend saying, here you are again, this plateau, this obstacle, welcome, please come in and let's work together so that I can come out the other side. And I think that taking that mindset is very important. And so when I'm thinking about my practice, it really happens at these different layers. So you can do it at the overall performance. So making sure that the kata is real, breaking it down into the kihon, the fundamentals of what you're working on. So that's another, if one part's not working, then you work on another part. And I think that's very similar to anything else that we do in life. Like if I'm at work and I'm feeling down on myself, I'm trying to achieve this project or finish this goal and it's not working, then when I get home, I try to be the best dad I can be. And that just changes my thinking. So I can be blocked in one area, but not blocked in another area. And just change your mindset to feeling like, okay, this is something I can explore, I can learn, I can even step out of that zone. So I'm not feeling that anymore, is a chance to, okay, now I'm recharged, I can go back in. Otherwise, you're just gonna get pushed down lower and lower and you will be taking that step back and leaving.
I love that because, you know, if I get you right, I think to deal with the sicknesses, we first have to acknowledge them. We first have to see them. Okay, what is sabotaging my practice and the movement of my energy in the practice? And okay, I can take it with in my life. Like at the last training, it was after a year again, we've been practicing on the mat with each other, and that was great. I loved it. And later on I thought, why did I love it so much? What is it that I really loved? I mean, we've been practicing also with weapons, but it's this interaction with somebody else, with a person, where you are mirrored and you see your own shortcomings, and I cannot do this, I cannot do that, I'm afraid of this, or I'm confused there. And I take it in my life, and I think, okay, I made this mistake, I know this is something I have to work on, and I can do something about it.
I love that. And I think it's, again, going to Reiki practice, we have the same base, right? With anger and worry. So a lot of times, and especially in life, what we do when we're angry, we just vent. When we're worried, we either Netflix binge or shop. But actually, as with the Shikai, we take the surprise, the confusion, or anger and worry, and sit with it just to explore. And for me, like, it's really important to bring it into my body because I'm very heady and those things escape. So where is my anger? Where is my worry? When I feel surprised, how does my body react in the dojo? And that actually for me has become like, I remember my first years, I was fighting those Shikai with everything I had, right? And then I couldn't advance. But once I started like, like I really feel angry when this sensei comments on this, or I feel angry when I don't do notorai, which I still, have a lot to do. And then it was actually for now, when I have a Shikai, I'm like, yay, there is something, it's almost like that is the gateway so I can find the solution.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the gate to going deeper into my practice versus, I'm still surprised after 5 years of practice, I'm still confused, or in Reiki, I still get angry. When I'm angry, it's like, great, I'm going to let go of something I didn't know I had. So I think also turning, I know.
Well, I want to hear where that comes out, because we talked about how these Shikai appear in Kendo, Iaido, and Aikido. It appears in your Reiki practice. I love to hear.
Absolutely. So, and I'll talk a little bit, and Anya can also deepen in that. So in Reiki, people see it as hands-on healing, but the core of Reiki are the Reiki precepts. And it's just for today: do not anger, do not worry, be grateful, and then practice diligently. So practice, as you say, is very important, and then show compassion to yourself and others. So a lot of people think then you practice Reiki, you're never going to get angry or worried, but that's not what it means. It's like, do not bear anger. So whenever you're angry, you're supposed to sit. And there are many techniques. You can just, for example, do a body scan. Where is my anger? Oh, it's here. And allow it to move and listen to your anger. So really, you're supposed to sit and sometimes go like, what is beneath the anger? Because it's an illusion. And you start getting the insight in what triggers that anger, why. And then when you acknowledge it with your body, it actually goes away. So I'm a Scorpio, I'm an angry person. Like I was an angry teenager and I used to get angry to you for a year. I still get angry, but it lasts 2 hours sometimes, like it's shortened. So it's not like you're not supposed to be angry, but you learn body mind techniques to learn and grow from that anger. And Anya, I don't know if you want to add, I don't know if it was clear, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe I could. I'm thinking
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't go too deep, but anyway, it's all about the the source non-duality. We talk
Yeah.
about mind and body. We talk about sicknesses and healing. We talk about form and energy or emptiness. So it's all about, and in the precepts, in the Reiki precepts, we have anger and worry, but we also have the antidote. We have gratefulness and compassion. We have, if you're familiar with the terms samsara and nirvana, we have heaven and hell. We have heaven and earth. And as long as we are torn, or I don't know in English, as long as we are either here or there, we're stuck in duality. So we need to accept both. We need to embrace both. We have anger and confusion within us, and we need to know what triggers it, and we need to know how to fight it, how to heal it, how to transform it. I really like also this a term in Aikido. The ethics of Aikido revolves around also Makoto. I don't know, are you familiar with that? Yeah, it's like about all the pleasant things in life are good, and all the things that bring disharmony are evil. So this is actually, it's like true acts. It's your own ethics. What do you choose? We've been practicing all those years. I don't know how old you are, but we've been practicing all those years to pay attention to our worries, to our angers, and we've been reinforcing them actually. So we have to learn and retrain ourselves to focus on gratefulness and compassion, empathy, love, wisdom, to become to make our life, to make our practice better, clearer, to make our life better, to become a better person, to become more beneficial to others.
I think that's a very important part that you brought up, in that we've been training ourselves to reinforce these fears and doubts and stuff like that, unconsciously, of course. And that's where this practice can help bring those things out. Like when I go out on doing a demonstration or something in Iaido, and I feel this, I can mirror that especially if I'm doing a presentation in front of a client or something like that. And once you can make this connection, once you realize that this is something that you've been feeling all this time, but you didn't know what to deal with, then you can apply what you're learning in your martial arts, in your Reiki, to these outside life situations. So I really think it's important that we are constantly bringing in experiences from our life to how does it appear in Budo, and then what are we learning in Budo to bring it back out into life. So these aspects of Shikai, that's why I thought it was useful and interesting to talk about in this, because we can do that in the martial arts and in life. And then Reiki is like, I don't know, it feels like something in between where it helps us kind of merge all these different aspects.
They have the same core for me. At the end, like the more I do martial arts, and then when I was in Japan, I did calligraphy. At the end, it's really been centered and letting go of all these shikais or distraction, right? So it's really about being present. One thing that I love, because a lot of people see that you said, Patrick, a lot of people see Reiki as like it happens on a massage table, a hands-on healing session. It happens, and then the rest of life is like less, right? Like, oh my God, how can you be a Reiki teacher and freelance in advertising? For me, life is practice. Advertising is my practice, right? Like, how do I not angry? How do I not let in an ego-driven business lose my center and lose my kindness, right? And the same with EI. I was in a shoot with a bunch of people screaming, they're $1 million Maihara, right? And my posture, I can have like a kind seme. I make everybody feel calm because I'm basically have a presence. So everything works better. So for me, the fact either Buddha or Reiki, understanding that it has to be connected with your life, then being in advertising, cleaning the home, everything is part of your practice. I think that's a great point that you made.
Yeah, me too. I think it's all about relationships. It doesn't matter what relationship, parents, siblings, colleagues, whatever, partners. It's all about relationships in life, and this is where we train. Yeah, if it's another job, another whatever, it's where we can grow. It's our training ground. right, Nathalie?
Right.
And like Reiki is a way. Huh? Reiki is a method. Iaido is a method. Kendo is a method. Aikido is a method to get there. Where? Again, back by yourself, by your virtues, by who you originally are. And this is goodness, wisdom, compassion. Yeah.
I think the beauty of the dojo, and you both mentioned that, is because life is away from it, then we can really feel the surprise. We can really feel the anger. Like we feel those emotions, as you were saying, Patrick, when you test. Like there is no way you can numb those emotions, right? They just made it evident you need to like learn how to hold the space for them. So I wanted to finish this a little bit with a little bit of the hara. So there is a lot of talk of hara. That's another commonality in all martial arts and Reiki, right? It's all about strengthening that hara. So I would love for you to do, just talk a little bit of your version of the hara. And for people who are not that familiar, I've heard many people, even in orthodox, like they cannot feel the hara, right? So a little bit what the hara is, or a tip, anything that could be useful for our viewers about how to strengthen or feel their hara, or the qualities it gives you.
Sure, yeah, I can start with there. Yeah, I still don't really say that I have a good concept of what the hara is. I think that the term exists is useful in how we approach our practice, which is that there is a point somewhere in your body, like below the belly button, that has something there. So how do you bring everything there? So one way is you try to move your body through that as a starting point. So if I was to move my sword, people think, oh, it's all in my hand, so I'm just going to start drawing here this way. But how do you make that connection between your fingertips to your wrists, to your shoulders, to your chest, and then through to the hara, and start there? So what is happening there? Initially, I start physically. So how do I tighten here and then use that to pull on some muscles higher up, and then adjust something here, and then this changes here, and then this changes here. So it's all connected that way, physically. And then once that I have that view, then, so that's when I'm training. And then when it comes to actual practice and the scenario has to be absolutely real, I don't even think about all this other stuff now, or the sort of stuff. It's, I have that access. I knew that has that connection. So start here, focus on the hara and the opponent, and then there's some kind of connection there. So I used to play a lot of basketball as well. And you want to have that feeling that I might be 10 meters away from the basket, but when I'm doing this, I'm sticking my fingers into the basket at this time. So I want to have that same feeling where it's my hara doing something to the opponent over there, not imagining what's happening in between. So like the difference between in the practice and actual.
I cannot follow, because I think Anya has a more body-mind practice, because I feel like you're going through the hara through the body. I went through the hara through the mind, right? Always through my meditation, feeling like, it's crazy. When you do a lot of like some breathings, you can feel like fire in your lower belly. And for me, the challenge was, again, I have no kinetic sense, like, oh, the hara is not just about the mind. You need to tighten in martial arts. You need to really be aware of the physicality. And as you said, that physical connection. So for me, it's funny, you're going through the hara through the body. I'm going through the mind. Anya, where are you going to the hara?
Well, when I started with Reiki first, and yeah, first you're sitting there in a meditation, and teacher says to you, turn inside, go into with your attention, with your mind, go into your belly. How do I do that? So it took a lot of practice to figure out where it is. So I think then I started doing Aikido. I learned a couple of physical tricks, how to feel the hara, where is it? So I learned it as well. And then it's easier, okay, to know where it is, where is it, how do you feel it? I even heard somebody gave a very good, I loved it, a very good advice. He said, go cough, like as if you have to cough. It's like, and then you feel this hara. And I thought, really? So you turn inside, and then from there, the more precise you can make the focus on the hara, the bigger space that appears around, and that's for me a space where there is nothing which is outside of me, which is, like you said, a basket. It's all in here. Like you said, everything is within reach. It's all happening in here. And this is when again, the founder of Aikido, he said, I am the universe is me. The more you learn to concentrate on your hara, the bigger the space you create. And this space includes everything. This is what it is for me. But it took quite a while of practice to realize where it is, to how to do that, because it takes some time.
Nice.
And you, Nathalie?
No, actually, for me, it was just, again, a breathing. And if I had to breathe when I inhale, learn to push my belly out very much. And then as I exhale, really pull it in. So it started creating a bellow effect in my lower belly. So that's why, and I still do that, because when I'm like on focus, I don't go directly into Zazen or like regular meditation. I push my belly out, the lower belly, as much as I can, almost like a little Buddha. And I do that for 10, 15 minutes. And what it creates is a bellow effect, right? So it fans, and that's when I start feeling really that warmth. And so that's the way I was like, oh, why do I have like this warmth, not in my stomach from bad digestion, but it's a different kind of warmth. It's very pleasant, it's very soothing. And it's like 3 fingers below your belly button. And sometimes we've been practicing a lot of remote mindfulness, because of the training, again, all the pandemic. And the other day we were practicing like becoming one with the sword through the use of the hara. And it's the first time it happened, but I was doing my bellow effect. And then that sphere of warmth just grew to encompass the whole room. And it's the first time I could feel, oh, actually my hand is linked to my back foot, like my whole body was one. And I was one with the sword. But it's really basically creating that bellow effect with breathing. And that has been the only simple way. Again, I'm very challenged physically, but it's been a gift, because then I need to find ways that are like foolproof, right? So that is a recommendation if you want to feel your hara.
Yeah. This is where we talk about sun, also in Buddhism and in Reiki, we talk about Sanmitsu, where we have body, mind, and the breath, or the energy which links body and mind. This is the link. So you use it perfectly. You use your breath to link your body and your mind. Yeah, which is great.
And that's the last thing I would like to add, and then I'll let you two close, is like a lot of time, and this is from Reiki practice, I hear a lot of people saying, I'm one with the universe, right? But actually you have to be first one with your body. And I think that's the beauty of martial arts that gave me, because before, like, I'm one with the plants and one with the tree, but I wasn't one with myself. And that's a working project. But for me, the gift of martial arts, and it really enriched my Reiki practice, it's like, okay, I need to first feel my body. I need to first be one with every piece of surprise, frustration, anger, and worry, and accept it. And then maybe I can like think about the universe, right? But for right now, like the first step is being one with ourselves. So I don't know if you want to, anything you would like to add, both of you, since you're a lot more coordinated and you know the Japanese terms.
Well, so I like this connection between mind and body, because I haven't thought too much about it. I know that there's a lot you can do with your body to settle the mind. But the one thing that I've noticed through like almost 2 decades of Iaido practice is, if I feel something bad from something else, like I just had a bad result at work, or I'm really stressed, or I'm tired or something, I just have to hold the sword in my hand. It's really weird feeling. Just put the sword in my hand, and it just disappears. It's the weirdest thing. I don't even have to practice. So there's something there between this connection beyond just like the art, the object, and the mind, and how you feel in this world. Yeah, I think that's it's a very cool aspect of the practice.
I love it. But you know what I think? I think also this we use as a, at least I use it a lot as an example in Reiki tools. We have also tools, meditations, symbols, etc., etc. And I always compare it to the sword. I say, if there is a sword, even if it's on the wall somewhere hanging, but you never touch it, you never take it, and you never practice, you don't have this connection with it. But the more you practice with it, the more you become one, because you learn how to deal with it, and then in the end, yeah, just like you say, you just have to hold it, but that takes only after a long time of practice, right? Yeah, it will not happen just like that. If I don't know how to use it, it will not do anything to me. So the key is actually to practice. Yeah.
Practice. So I basically think we covered the subject. I don't know if you want to add something else. Like, I'm in love with everything that you guys brought, but maybe if you want to do a closing.
Anya, do you want to start with this?
I think I just did.
We just did, right?
That was a pretty good closing.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, like it always comes back to practice, right? And again, that's a truth for the three practices. For the three, we're talking mostly about Iai, Aikido, and Reiki. And I just want to bring back what you said, the danger of plateau. So a lot of people stop practicing because we plateau, especially in Reiki. I see too. I don't feel anything. I'm not getting like, we want to become like better people. It's not happening. So I think, again, those Shikais are the gateway to really get out of the plateau. And the plateau per se causes a lot of Shikais, right? So the only answer is to practice, to acknowledge, to embrace, and just, as you both said, really think of self-exploration versus just mastery and controlling, and also like partnering with the body instead of controlling the body. I think it's also a great thing that you learn. So that's my closing. Hopefully it makes sense.
Perfect.
I actually came up with something. Yeah, I can think of. So we were talking so far of the present and what we've learned in the past. I can just mention something that I'm exploring in the future, which is something that Anya also reminded me of. When you cough, you feel that belly. And for me, the other action that you take is to laugh. Yeah. And I'm not very outgoing person. Maybe as a kid, I laughed a lot, but as an adult, they didn't. But my daughter is crazy. So she's always laughing at everything, and it's infectious in a lot of ways. So the thing that I want to explore more is just what is it to be like a kid? In my practice, in my dojos, and in wherever I can do that, I want to try to get more kids in there and just be around them a lot more, because there's just something about that brings more joy and life and energy to you. That's not something that you can just do in your practice by yourself with just other adults. It just comes to you. And yeah, that's something that I want to try to explore a little more.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Me too. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Great.
But I think this Shikai is also, for me, maybe if a kind of a closing, which I would like to share, is it all starts with yourself. Discover it for yourself, find out, heal it within yourself, and then you can help other people to discover it and to heal it and transform it and to be more joyful and childlike. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
I love this conversation. So
me too.
No, it's interesting because they're themes we don't always talk at the dojos, right? They're like, we talk more about waza and do this and the steps, but this is a beautiful part, and it honestly infuses all the practice. So I would love for both of you to perhaps give either like your website or where can people contact you. Myself, you can contact me, dive into Reiki, Instagram, web, Facebook is always the same. So I don't know, Anya, for you, where can people contact you with any questions regarding these?
You can find me at Reiki-Aikido-meditation.com. And I think we will place within the group, we will place the link to maybe to our sites further. Patrick?
And so I have a Facebook account, Instagram, and YouTube. So that's Tokushikai Canada, TOKUSHIKAI. So that's where my dojo stuff, my podcast, other workshops that we host. And just to echo something that Nathalie mentioned, that having this conversation, I think it really works in this sense, because we are not only practitioners of our art, we also have these other, like if you're in journalism or something, and we do multiple things, and we also think a lot about this stuff. Like there's a lot of practitioners that are just like doing the physical practice, or they're just doing the thinking and not the physical stuff. You really need to integrate all of that. And when you can get this kind of group of people together, you can have very interesting conversations.
I agree.
Perfect.
I agree.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Anya, for doing all the technical thing. Patrick for joining us. And Harlem to be sort of quiet today compared to other summer days.
We did not really enjoy your parties out there. But it's great. Great. Thank you both, Nathalie, for holding it all together and keeping the time. Great. Thank you. And Patrick, it was nice meeting you. Thank you so much.
Very nice meeting you. Yeah, thank you. This was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. Hope to talk again in the future and see each other again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Perfect.
Yeah.
And everybody, happy weekend and practice, practice, practice.
Bye.
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 Bye.